Okay, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of On Point EDC. Today we're going to talk about custom pens. Some key common characteristics in that language. You're looking for a custom pen, you're going to want a unique design language, a fun fidgetable actuation, and a premium, build in terms of the materials and construction. Today I have for you guys 3 of my favorite EDC pens, and I try to make it as much of an apples to apples comparison as possible by showing you guys these pens all in titanium. Of course, they are very different in terms of their aesthetics and their finishes that they employ, and they even all have different actuations, which is new for these types of roundup videos. I've done a bunch of, hey, the best kind of my favorite in terms of type, like, hey, these are my favorite bolt action pens. These are kind of my top 3 just general pens that all have a different actuation style that I'm looking forward to sharing with you guys, who can, if you can really appreciate, if you're a knife collector, if you're a gearhead, if you're a watch collector, you can appreciate the little nuances in terms of the tactile engagement that these give you, the fidgetable kind of interaction, as well as the fit and finish. And all of these are actually made here in the USA, so you're also supporting USA made products if you're checking out any of these 3. We have the Billet Spin cam pen there at the very top, and then in the middle we have the Tactile Turn Slim Side Click, and at the bottom we have the Urban Survival Gear TI Scribe Go. And there's different size ranges for a couple of these. There's definitely different material ways you can get these laid out, different special editions, all types of stuff, that different metals, different finishes, different anodizations. But here again, really going for that kind of apples to apples comparison, just so you guys can see that, hey, these are just some options that are out there. If you're looking to spend within a certain amount, these are definitely the pens for you guys. At least in my findings of experimenting with quite a few pens, these ones just really stand out to me as just being absolutely outstanding. So with that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get these pieces in hand, and take a closer look. All right, guys, now before we dive in, very quickly, got the wristwatch check here. Titanium, right? Excellence, finishing, fit, finish, all that. Hey, titanium watch here, guys. In terms of special materials, you're getting a ceramic bezel there with multi finishing. You got really nice high polish facets with brushing that ties in to this beautiful texture dial. Yes, that is a ticking seconds hand, so this is a quartz watch. It is a quartz watch, but it's premium, right? Typically you think quartz watch, it's a cheap alternative to a mechanical watch. Not so in this case. This actually gets GPS updates from satellites to make sure that you're getting perfectly accurate atomic timekeeping. So this is great. Also, it's solar powered, so you never have to worry about changing a battery, which is another downside of quartz watches. So love this watch. Definitely check the channel history if you're interested in it. But I had to rock it for today's kind of, this isn't a death match by any means, because all of these pens are fantastic. I don't really think one is better than the other. It's all a matter of taste. And honestly, if you ask me to pick one of 3, clearly I can pick one of 3 because I own all 3. So there wouldn't be one that I would have and then I'd throw the other 2 away. These are all awesome. And honestly, I have too much fun, and I'm a collector, just like with watches. I don't have one watch that I would keep and just throw the rest away. So don't even bother getting there. But what we'll do is we'll start with the new kid on the block. This is the Billet Spin cam pen, and this is awesome. Cam as in it's cam actuated, and it's different than a bolt action, one, because a bolt doesn't move like this. This would be more of a bolt action, but of course not completely traditional. This is probably one of the best bolt action pens on the market, from Urban Survival Gear. So typically, like a bolt, if you've ever used a firearm or rifle or anything like that, you understand kind of the way a bolt locks. So there's that, but this is actually cam actuated. It's all super solid inside, all in-house engineered. They didn't take an existing actuator, whether it be a click, a bolt, or whatever, and then they put their own name on it. They really engineered this from the ground up. So essentially, they were founded, of course, by an engineer. Then they got backed on Kickstarter successfully back in 2015, making spinning tops, and now have expanded. But these are all actually manufactured in Wisconsin, which is fantastic. Again, supporting locally sourced items that are made here, by artisans that really take their jobs very seriously. So this is the titanium version. It's compatible with any type of Parker or Parker style refill. This goes for $150 direct from Billet Spin. It's actually the most expensive out of the ones you're going to see here. But in terms of when you look at it, it don't look cheap. So that's, this one for me reminds me the most of the fine satin finishing that you're going to get on a watch. So if you're somebody that's like, oh man, I own a Tudor Pelagos, or I have a titanium Omega or something, like just whatever it might be, and you want to pair a pen to it with this satin brush finish, again, it's very similar. So if you're into that, this it could be the one for you, because they really go the extra mile in terms of that beautiful satinization. This is really, really finely finished, and it just feels so solid, and it's again very fidgetable, super clicky, just fantastic actuation as it turns over, and I dig it. And then it feels great in hand. I am left-handed, which is why my watches are worn on the right wrist. Weirdly enough, that's the only thing I'm left-handed in, is writing and drawing. Everything else, like I shoot right-handed, and I'm right eye dominant and all that. But when it comes to writing and drawing, I do it with my left hand. So very, very comfortable. Although they do make this in a left-handed configuration, this is the standard configuration for righties, and I have no problems using it. And it just feels great. I love that in terms of the grip here. You can see it actually is deeper, and then it kind of tapers off and it gets less deep. So that's a really nice effect. And then you're also, of course, in terms of getting symmetry, they have like different sectioned off here, and it's very handsome and quite organic and very modern, very clean. It is pretty expensive, but it is rightfully so. It does look expensive and feel expensive, and honestly, a lot of expensive pens, if you're into collecting pens, can be made out of honestly inferior materials. Like you can get a brass pen that costs more than this pen right now, and it's brass, not cool machined brass, but those like brass that's lacquered and like a European style, in terms of its collectability, and it won't have this much precious material, in this case being titanium milled to these beautiful tight specs and standards. So really, really cool, very solid, very functional. It has that minimalist aesthetic here that it shares with these other models. I think that's very big within the EDC community in terms of versatility and functionality. The length is 5.2 inches long, thickness about 10.4 millimeters thick, and then the weight is 1.46 ounces. And yeah, I really, really enjoy this pen, and I highly recommend it. Now, moving on to the next pen, technically, although Billet Spin is kind of a newcomer within the space, this pen itself is actually a very new release from Tactile Turn, and a newer mechanism in terms of it being their side click. This is a newer release because this is the slimmed down version of their standard side click, where they actually have made some other improvements, like offering a deeper carry pocket clip. You can see it's just a little bit higher up, so it's going to sit nice and deep and ride nicely, whether you have it tucked away in a notebook, a pant pocket, or a breast pocket on your shirt. This is going to be really great. It also has a mixture of finishing. You can see more of a tumbled or stonewashed finish on the pocket clip and the thumb actuator and the side button here, and then you're going to get this amazing machining here that just goes all the way up and down the barrel, which actually help hide the joint, which some of you might be able to catch it in the right lighting angle, because this looks all like it's one solid piece, but it actually unscrews. And these lines here add the grip. And it's nice because the lines are actually so consistent, it doesn't look like it would be super grippy, but you can see just like the spaces on my fingertips, that little fine grip, they just it interlocks really well. So if you're ever worried about metal pens, they've been slippery to you, and you would want something with some type of rubberized grip. The nice thing here is this grip is not sharp to the point where it's abrasive, right? You're not going to be sawing through your skin with it, but it's going to lock in, and that's something that I really enjoy about this pen. I like that they did slim it down. It's not super thin, but you don't want a pen to be too thin because you want it to still fit nicely in your hand. This just feels more like a traditional pen when you have it in your hand now that they slimmed it down, which I can appreciate. So these are actually hand machined in Texas, originally out of Garland, Texas, but now actually out of Dallas, Texas. So they've been moving on up. They've sold a ton of these pens. They've even moved on into producing knives under Tactile Knife Company. But this is the Tactile Turn Slim Side Click, and it is again that slimmed down version of your typical side click pen, which was actually based off of an original Mitsubishi design. And you probably have the most famous side click pen, probably besides these, would be something like the Fisher Space Pen model with the side clicker on it, so that essentially you can't unclick it by accident, right? If you're fidgeting with it, essentially it's a deliberate lock and unlock because there's two different points of actuation there, which is really nice. This is going to take a Schmidt EasyFlow 9000, and I love it. It's great. This actually goes for $99 direct, or you can even buy them from dealers now. I think they're on the Wound Up Watch shop, so you might have seen these if you're a watch fan. If you watch my channel for watches, you might see these pens. You might have seen them on their shop, or they're either on their way soon, who knows. But these are great. I love these, and it's honestly kind of my new favorite Tactile Turn pen. And Tactile Turn is really known for their bolt action pens, but for me this is kind of like their new signature pen, just because it's so different, especially in a sea of other bolt action pens that are out there. Now, last but certainly not least, speaking of bolt action pens, here's another reason why the slim side click has become, my favorite pen from Tactile Turns, because Urban Survival Gear has just kind of perfected the bolt action pen. This is just insane. This is next level in terms of the finishing, the design prowess, in terms of the iterations that they've gone through to really design something that is just all around a luxury piece. And it has definitely a very futuristic and bold aesthetic, with this really deep matted dark wash finish. This isn't coated, this is titanium. It's just been tumbled to a point to where it is a very dark, and then of course it does have the high polished grip section here. And again, it's in more of a scale that's going to feel a little bit more like a traditional pen, because it is on the thinner side versus some of the thicker pen options that are out there. So Urban Survival Gear, these are awesome, and the TI Scribe line have evolved over time, and this is kind of the pinnacle of all that. And they made it all the way up to kind of the Bolt V2 and V3, and this kind of combined the two and lowered the production cost, which is great. So these were going for actually $99.99, or I think around $115 for the full price, but they typically will go on sale, and these are just special. They feel amazing in hand, and you can see there's a little bit of machined kind of grip there. You get the signed. They just do so many great tricks. If you have let's say if you're a big knife collector, you'll know that these beautiful bevels and finished edges really go a long way in terms of conveying quality and how thoughtful everything is laid out. You can see it almost has a sheen to it, it feels like stone almost, and it's really nice. And although yes, this part can be a little bit smoother, because you do have these nice deep cuts, it gives you another way to lock it in when it comes to writing, and you know, and being able to have a grip on it. So even if you have a sweaty hand, you're still good to go. And this action is just insane. And it's just cool. I dig that. I like that they decided to go a little bit different. You know, there's no open gaps when you pull it down. And then also there's no extra tail in terms of it adding complication. They just use that cap and then have it to where it sits and still flush essentially when it's down. And then when it's up, it's up. So it didn't have to seal anything in there, because that's typically the thing, is there's some vertical movement, and then what ends up happening is now you're going to have your clip, you know, sitting a little bit lower, a little bit higher, depending on how you position it. Here, not as much of an issue. Also, you know, you're not going to, or I should say, you're less likely to put it in your pocket with the tip out, because the clip is also the thing that you use to actuate. So, and then also visually, hey, if I see that that's down, I know that that's out. So again, it's just really, really cool. I love the design. You know, the engineering obviously is top notch on all of these. But the design on here, again, they're all different. They look different. They feel different. But one thing they have in common is that feeling of quality and just a level of thoughtfulness that you just don't find in every other pen. And honestly, there are some pens that are out there that are really popular that are made overseas, and they're charging the same prices. They're charging you $100 for a titanium pen made in China. Am I saying that it can't be amazing and made in China? No, there's tons of awesome products that are made in China. I mean, the bracelets on Omega watches are made in China. So yes, they can be good and made in China, but hey, if you can get it made in the US, like, this is a steal. Like, you got to imagine that's much less of a markup and much less of a margin that you're going to be getting. You're getting closer to the true value versus something that is marked up the other way, right? So, you know, if you're getting a titanium pen that's made overseas, even if it's designed in the US, it's getting made overseas for a reason. It's to cut costs, but they're not selling it to you for any less. They're still charging similar prices, right? So that's where I kind of like to, you know, I'll just draw the line and say, look, I would rather have the quality product made in the US, or if you're gonna make it overseas, make it cheaper, because you're spending less money to manufacture it. That's fine. I'm fine with that too. Obviously, Omega's not going to lower its prices, because the rest of the watch is fine to meet Swiss made, even without the cost of the bracelet being taken into consideration. But this pen's awesome, guys. Very solid, super clean and smooth. This is going to be 5.36 inches. This is considered the full size. You can actually get them smaller as well. Thickness is about 10 millimeters. Weight just under an ounce at 0.97 ounces. And I love this thing. And they're all actually similar lengths as well. This is the short in terms of the length on here. 5.3 inches, about 9.3 millimeters thick, and underneath an ounce as well at 0.82 ounces. So this is going to be the lightest of the bunch. This one's going to be the heaviest, but also, I mean, it's the thickest. You can see in terms of, you know, it's 10.4 versus these ones are going to be, you know, 10 and then 9 and some change. So this is going to be thicker. And then also the mechanism inside is also fully solid. So there's not, if you shake this, there's not much going on that's inside of there. Like, everything is very flush, very, very solid. And the nice thing is it doesn't feel heavy. It's just, you know, it's titanium, so it's still relatively light. It's just a little bit over an ounce versus just a little bit under an ounce. And that is fun to play with, guys. That is a fidgetable action. This guy too. Let's just get that going before we go. Or I could just keep that down and just, if you really want to get into the clicky, you could do that. Oh, that's a fun pen. And then this guy, whoo, this one is just Mr. Smooth over here. I love how much movement there is within the actuation. Just things are moving around. It's just in terms, and then if you want to, you can even, just for a clicker, right? If you want to fidget with something, you need a little fidget break for your brain as you look away from your screen for a little bit, and you go look at the birds fly, and go look at the leaves below. As you take a little brain break from work, you can also play with something like this. And honestly, these are great. I know they're not cheap, guys. We're all around $100. This one closer to 150. They're not cheap, but they're they're well engineered. They're made out of amazing materials, and if you want to spend more money, get them in zirconium and with Damascus clips or pieces, or get special anodizations. That does increase the price as well. But these are kind of my pick, my cream of the crop. Let me know down in the comments below, are there any that you think can compete with these? And I'm more than happy to take a look. So let me know also if you have any experience with these. I know this is a newer model, so there have been some growing pains that have since been resolved, but always happy if there's anybody that's been having any trouble with any of these. That's another beauty of the actual manufacturers being here stateside, because they can actually make changes if there's something that needs to be improved. All right, they can get to the root cause analysis and actually improve the products. These are, again, are products where they're iterative, and every time they come out with a new iteration, they're always trying to improve with every batch. But I mean, even just these ones, snapshot in time, these are all perfect pens for me, and I love them all. And none of them win against each other. They're all just awesome, and they're the best. And I think I haven't met anything that deserves to be within these conversation of these three pens just yet. But let me know in the comments below if there's something that I should take a look at. And one last look for all the watch geeks out there. This is a beautiful thing, guys. I'm loving this watch. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like the video, please leave a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.